All right, let's rock and roll, guys.
All right. Shit, I hope everyone had a good weekend. Weekend's almost over.
Yeah, Mondays are always way sweet, putting out all the fires and everything, you know. All right, well, let's start getting in with some of the questions. What do you guys got here? Let's see what's up. I know we kind of have a general premise for tonight, um, but I always like to hear other questions that I can potentially answer or clarify or anything of the sort.
Shit, we got one already about a moisture sensor for root zone variables. You know, like taros and shit like that. Acoma.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. It depends. We used to use the Grodan sensors, which, in my opinion, were not that great. They'd give you some data, but I wasn't really ever happy with them. I think we spent like almost like 10 grand on those goddamn things too. But that again was like probably 4 or 5 years ago, so I'm sure there's a better option at the moment. That's obviously a lot cheaper too for somebody, just like a non-commercial environment and things like that.
Taros are pretty good. They're pretty sensitive, so you get good readings.
Yeah,
Acoma just upgraded theirs. The Grow Links, they used to use Aclama. They just upgraded to like a Taros kind, so they might be
nice.
better as well.
Yeah. For me, I personally don't use moisture sensors. I can just kind of see it, I guess, but I do understand like having the data there, which is valuable, and it also helps you learn too. I think that that's a big one. Just learning to read your dry backs and kind of what's going on. It'll give you a more, I guess, data driven, like visual approach to it, which, it's something that, you have to learn. So I don't personally use any. So yeah, I'm sure Cajun or some of the mods, some of those guys would have a lot better um, insight into some of that than I would, quite frankly.
I personally only use them if I'm doing a run of all the exact same genetics within a like. They're different genetics. I don't bother simply because they're gonna have different habits and all
Yeah,
that.
it's gonna be all over the place. Yeah, no, correct, dude. I totally agree. It's just
Um,
it's kind of one of those things. I was just seeing a comment here. Um, is it bad to dry back until slight wilt? I mean, usually, yeah. I mean, especially like rock wool, it's you have very, very little forgiveness time as far as something like that. Cocoa more so, and soil even more so than that. But unless something's really fucked up, I don't dry back until they wilt personally. Um, cocoa is kind of one of those things. And once again, like I said, with rock wool as well, you're going to want to have continuous feeds on things like that so they don't get to that point. Building up EC inside your media is one thing, but allowing that to just spike so hard and then your medium to become, acidic or something like that, it's really, in my opinion, not a good practice.
yeah, for sure. And it gets really hard to add back that moisture if you let it dry back too hard.
Yeah, it really does. It's one of those things where it becomes basically hydrophobic, especially with you know, rock wool, especially is a big one. So it's really hard to actually get that stuff, like the moisture and all the water content, to fully saturate the cube again. Otherwise, you're just going to get channeling. So you're going to have dry spots around your cocoa or your rock wool, something of that sort. And literally all the water is just going to flush through that. It's not going to fully saturate your cube. And it's really not going to do you any fucking good besides just, wasting nutrients trying to resaturate it.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you want to see it firsthand, if you're gonna chop something or kill a mom off, just get some plain water. Let that shit dry all the way out to you see wilt, and then go ahead and feed it some water, and then take it out because you're about to kill the plant. You'll see the dry spots. Like it's light brown as day. They got no moisture in them, and those roots are going to die there. They are going to die.
And if you have a good sized plant like that and you let, a large majority of the roots die off, what do you expect? What do you guys think is going to happen? It's very obvious that that plant is not going to live up to its potential, and a lot of times half the plant or some shit like that, it's going to die anyway. Because you're killing off a large portion of like the rhizosphere and stuff.
Yeah. Shoot, Tom's asked, what strain expresses more? So, what's the dominant expression on, I guess, a reversal as far as like, I guess, the donor or the receiver?
You never really know. It's different every time, guys. Quite frankly, um, which honestly, that's kind of why I like doing a lot of reversals. It's just kind of one of those things where you never really know. I know things like, especially like the Karma Sour Diesel. Lately, that's been showing a ton of dominance, which for me, that's kind of what I was going for. I wanted to see some huge fucking beast colas. I can't remember who was the one that posted a few of those up. I think it was like the Haichu and the Water Breath 15. It might have been Europe, something like that. Um, those were just stupid fire, and you could see like the dominance in each part of it. It's gonna be a large stacking plant. It might take a little bit longer. It might take a week longer than some of the others, but you're going to see a lot of the sour really, really coming through, mixing nice with other stuff. So I've been very, very happy with like how a lot of those have turned out. A lot of the black velvet stuff you can see coming through pretty hard. But it really does depend, and I can't sit here and tell you guys like, oh, it's going to come through, 60-40 or 70-30 or whatever. It's one of those things. That's how genetics work. And we kind of see how they, I have an ideal version, like in my brain, how this cross would play out. But, if you only pop like two or three seeds, I can't exactly, speak on how dominant each one of those are going to be.
Yeah, those expressions, those dominant traits. Because recessive genes are
Absolutely.
recessive. Doesn't matter whether the donor or the receiver, it's recessive.
That's right. So it's always kind of one of those things. Like I said, you have an idea in your mind, whether it goes there or not. There has been stuff that I've made where a lot of the females, if you will, not the pollen donors, are going to come through a little bit harder, and you might have to select a little bit more through that. And once again, that's just kind of genetics, and that's how that works. And that's how she goes.
Right. When you're going through pheno hunting, do you call mutants, triploids, all those weird phenos you might get, Personally, you know
Hmm.
me, I told you in the chat, I'll
Right.
flip that bitch in heartbeat.
A lot of times it seemed like I would say before like OG Kush breath stuff like that, everybody just tossed them out, in my opinion. Now, when you when you had something like that and it was a mutant, but actually it made some good waves. It was slow vegging, and for that reason, but it also was a fantastic plant. So I think that kind of said to a lot of folks anyway, and this is just my you know perception on it, I guess, guys. Um, it allowed people to kind of look at some of those mutants, if you will, or mutations, whatever, and actually want to grow them out. So it really is kind of one of those things. If you have the space and kind of want to see what's up, you know, mutations are not necessarily a bad thing. You can definitely find some shit in some of those mutations that absolutely are fantastic and really outstanding as far as that goes. So it just kind of depends on your tolerance on something like that, I would say. in my opinion, anyway.
Shit, I pulled that mutant out, but I gave it time, and it's just the vigor wasn't there. It wasn't. If it had vigor, I'd be like, okay, let's see what it's got. But it didn't, so I'm not wasting.
Exactly, and I guess that would be kind of my philosophy as well. Like for me, like I cannot grow like OG Kush breath. You know what I mean? Like we did, I think, 4 tables of it a couple years ago, and it took probably 2 rounds of the other plants to even get that shit to be able to like you know put it in proper like veg mode to actually be flowered. So for me, it's not something that I would look for, select from, breed with, etc. But that's once again, guys, just my personal preference. You know.
Hey, are you looking for something for a production kind of thing, or just personal thing? You know that matters.
Exactly. And, like I said the other day in chat, guys, time is fucking money. Okay. And if I'm sitting here and I'm only turning 3 harvests or some shit on a room because I'm growing fucking OG Kush breath when I could turn 5 if I was really on my game, there's there's a large discrepancy there, in my opinion, and something that, once again, and fair enough, dude. If it's just for your personal smoke and you're good to go, then yeah, dude, rock it out. But when it comes to, business and paying fucking bills and shit, I'm not fucking growing OG Kush breath. I'm sorry. you know, or any
See,
type of mutant that resembles that in veg cycle. And honestly, and I'm not hating on Mac One either, but it was the same shit. They literally almost had like the same veg time. So for me, I just it's not for me or my company or anything of the sort.
they're asking more about drybacks. I guess they're well. I
Yeah.
guess we have some. We've talked about it in previous ones where we talked
Mhm.
about vegetative drybacks. There's drybacks where you're not necessarily trying to get anything out of the plant. You can dry back just to help fix your plant. I mean, there's so many ways to crop steer. It's kind of hard to
Yeah.
explain it, man.
Yeah, crop steering is something. I mean, I can try to explain it to you guys, but it's also something you really should research. Um, it's obviously like for generic terms, like your vegetative growth is you're going to be feeding it more frequently. Okay, so you're not essentially building up EC in the medium of the plant. Now, when you're flowering, you're going to be, well, either you can feed higher or you can give a little bit more of a dry back to start building up on that and not have as much runoff. So it really kind of just depends on how you want to structure your irrigation. And that's a big thing. It's going to be dependent on like your flow of your emitters and how large your pots are, things of that nature. So it's really kind of up to you how you want to do it. Generally speaking, your vegetative growth, you are going to be feeding a little bit more frequently, and you're going to allow more dry backs, in your flowering time. And that's, I
More
guess, a simple
forgiving.
way to say it.
It's a lot more forgiving as well to
Yes.
crop steer and
Yeah, absolutely.
veg.
I personally, I like to feed a higher EC and have less runoff um, in flour, I guess is my preference. I feel like I get too acidic when I have larger drybacks that are a little bit harder to correct in flour. And that's just me and my preference and how we do stuff. Um, but like I said, I feel it's more forgiving to be able to do it that way and instead of having to correct pH. A lot of the time, what's fucking up is not necessarily how strong you're feeding the plants. It's more about the pH imbalance in your medium, from my
Which
experience.
comes A lot of that comes from feeding too weak. Your plant fights you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see that a lot in chat too. I see people getting, afraid to feed, high or shit like that. No, fuck that. Like I've always said, guys, we're not growing fucking leaves here, okay? Let's let's pump these plants up. Let's get them some, potassium, fucking, nice base nutrients and stuff like that. It's like you can't be afraid to hit your plant. If it looks like shit and it's yellow and it's not doing worth a fuck, feed the goddamn thing, feed it correctly pH wise, make sure your stuff is calibrated correctly before you do it, and just let it do its thing. It's a fucking weed. It's something that does not need to be like overthought to an extent. You can make it as complicated, I guess, as you want, or you can kind of look at it as like, well, my medium is like, okay, I'm in cocoa. It's like 5.5. Well, what do you need to do? Then you need to balance it out and get your pH up a little bit higher so the plant is able to uptake nutrients more effectively.
Um, and a lot of people are asking about runoff, how much runoff based off pot size and stuff.
I mean, it
Um,
really depends. It's kind
that's
of one of those things. Like I,
crazy.
I run 1 gallons. You obviously want to have some runoff that comes out before you actually take the readings. Runoff is kind of one of those things. I don't ever give a shit about like, and I've said it before, the EC of my runoff has no bearing on what I'm doing whatsoever. I want to see the pH of it, but you also have to run some actual like, say, you know, you're at like 5.5, your inputs like, 6.0, something like fairly generic as far as that when it comes to cocoa. I'll have some of the guys run a lot of that, not a lot, but at least a little bit of runoff through that, so I'm not getting a skewed reading. And then I'll take um, some readings off of, some of the inputs after that. So that's usually how I run stuff, and then I can balance it out. Do I need to increase it a little bit just to kind of get, um, the pH back into balance? And you just kind of read it that way. Granted, that's actually not the correct way to do it. You really like if you're really wanting to take a runoff reading, you almost do like a core sample, like through the actual cocoa, like they do in fucking Antarctica with like some ice and shit like that. That's really how you do it correctly, and you do a slurry technique as far as that goes. Now, I don't think a lot of us are going to be doing that. So you just get as close as you can. And once again, that's kind of a logical decision where you want to, you know, if you're allowing more of a dry back, you have to think in your mind, okay, this medium is probably more acidic. Well, maybe I should feed it at a little bit higher pH, maybe saturate like a little bit more if you get a higher dry back than you maybe wanted, and that'll put you back in line.
Yeah, I don't ever calculate runoff. I really don't. I mean, I'm not
I
gonna go
personally really don't ever
ever.
give a shit, but I know a lot of people do. For me, like I said, I can kind of read the plant, and I'm like, well, if nutrients are spot on and you know pH is coming in good, but I've had a bit of a dry back, I know that I might feed like a higher pH, for instance. It's just to me kind of common sense. It's one of those things. Just don't overthink it. Like I said, it's a fucking weed.
Yeah, the rhizosphere follows what you're doing. It's you guide the rhizosphere. So if you're working with it, it's gonna work with you. If you're slacking, it's gonna fight you. And then just fix it. It's pretty
Hundred
simple.
percent. 100%.
Let's see. Oh, let's talk about box sets. So let's touch up on the boxes. What is the box set, Alex?
I think we're gonna do just 5 packs in a box, and we'll do a giveaway here in just a little while. And we'll kind of get that going. So you get five, six free packs, something like that.
They're gonna be fire.
Yeah, I
The
mean, I'll
boxes.
definitely select it where it's not just like some bunk ass gear, guys. Like not that I'm not saying anything is, but it'll be like some heaters that have been selling well and been very much in demand and stuff like that. So we'll get you guys hooked up.
Cool. I think what will be cool is you like take a look and you're like, oh shit, people have not even realized that they're sleeping on these. Like these are probably going to be so fire. Something that you don't have the time to hunt that you wish you could.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of this stuff kind of lately has been like that. You'll see like when some of these things, are introduced in you know Instagram and whatnot. I mean, you guys, have seen some of the Dante's Inferno and Black Inferno and stuff like that, and just anything that's made waves. The High Chew. I think there's going to be a bunch of really good shit out of the High Chew, and I know a lot of people pick those up, but I also think that that's probably going to be. It's going to be a fucking fantastic line. I'm not going to lie. That was one that I personally was um, in my opinion, the most hyped up on lately.
So what Murph asked, what makes you decide to retire certain cultivar like White Hawk Lava and whatnot?
Well, a lot of it's, you can't reiterate the same thing over and over and over, in my opinion. So you take it to a certain extent, and then you have to be like, well, I've taken this as far as, like, in my mind, where I want to take it. And that's when then I kind of move on to something else. It's not, like a one and done, like, with a lot of fem stuff back in the day. I actually do work these lines. And when I see something I'm satisfied with and it's taken as far as I can go, or, to the point where I don't really see it, um, unless there's some ridiculous selection, taking it a whole lot further, it's time to do other things, and I'm not a person, you know, as you guys know, if you're tuning in here, I'm not going to work IBLs and like F8s and F9s and stuff like that. So for me, it's more like, well, what else can we do? What's the new thing? What's the new prospect? What would be interesting? So for me, that's kind of how I operate stuff. It's more just what I'm into at the time and where I think that I could take something and have satisfied clients.
You got to keep up with the movement.
Absolutely. 100%. I mean, you guys know how fast this fucking game moves. So, you know, just real talk. I can't be stuck on something for 2 years when nobody's going to have interest in it. And I know a lot of people talk shit about that or have, um, but that's just the way the industry moves. You have to always be on your toes. You have to always have, your hands in the newest, hottest stuff. Now, that's not to say, you just throw something at the wall and hope it works. There is, you know, um, thought behind each cross and what I would like to see and what I think people are going to be getting out of these. And I will say, most of the time, that's pretty fucking spot on. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything as far as that goes, but I have a pretty good idea of what people are going to be getting and where these are going at the certain time.
Now, Sloth asked, what kind of, I guess, crosses do you think would pair well with Gastronaut, since we are expecting Gastronaut line to come out soon?
Yeah, Gastronaut's going to be, dude, it's going to be straight gas and sour diesel and OGs. It's going to be a gas line. We got a lot of other stuff going on. You got like your high chews and things like that, and your blue raz as well. Those are still going to be gas, but like those are going to be like the new school, in my opinion, like OG sour diesel crosses, and that's what I'm going for on that hardcore.
Do you have any timelines on them or no?
They're in the works right now, so they're
Okay.
going.
What are you? Are there any new strains that you're looking forward to working with in the future?
I'm gonna get this Larry OG that Sean helped me source. I'm gonna get that in the astronaut line. Larry was always one that was really, elusive to me, even back in the days, like on the forums, like Canna Cabana and stuff, with like really hooked up, like plug people. And that was one that I had never, ever really gotten. So that's going to be one that we're going to be working with. We'll do like the Zangria and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of OGs and stuff that I've gotten back, like the Sour Double and stuff. That'll be coming back into it. Sour Devil, in my opinion, is like the best tasting sour strain that's out there, in my opinion. So that'll be making an appearance again. I got the Joe Brand Diesel, which back in the day we just called it Joe B Diesel. We had no idea what the fuck it was. It was some type of chem that I used to grow up at my mountain house. I'd say in like 2012 or so. So that'll be coming back from a good buddy.
Skywalker. We got Skywalker.
Yeah, the Skywalker, and then Pure OG or Pure Kush, and a couple others. So there's been a
Ghost
lot of
OG.
stuff that I've kind of been working on the back end as far as a lot of like the OGs and some of the older stuff. A lot of the newer stuff, it seems like people are really keeping um, under wraps. It's not like how it used to be where you'd have a lot of people sharing stuff, through forums and stuff. Everybody can see the value of intellectual property and kind of how this is going. Everybody's company has something different to offer. So I think you're going to see a tightening on a lot of these strains, a lot of the new stuff. I think you're probably, unless, an employee or something like that leaks it, I think you're probably going to see a lot of stuff that's pretty locked down.
A lot of gatekeeping coming up.
Yeah. It's
But fakes too.
yes, that's exactly
Be
right. And
wary
that's
of that.
why, I see that shit all the time, even in the fucking Discord here. It's, I see stuff getting posted up and I'm like, look, I've fucking grown this. That's not how it looks. It's some fake fucking bullshit. Somebody got, taken on some shit like that, or whether they're, knowledgeable of it or not, they got fucked on it. So, that's one thing that I don't source stuff unless I know exactly who it comes through. Um, and that's also, I think, why a lot of the stuff that I make is, true to its origins. Like you can tell, in my opinion, just from like a breeder perspective, like when somebody has some S1 bullshit that they're fucking breeding with. I think it's very obvious. I'm not going to, name any names or anything as far as that goes, but I can just see it in work, quite frankly.
Did you want to touch up on Dante's
Legend
Descent?
OG, Legend OG will be in there as well, JD.
Do you want to touch up on Dante's Descent?
I think that we may leave that for a minute, but yes, Dante's Descent, and I'm gonna take it one line further to Helltide. I think that those are both badass names, and want to take the Dante's a little bit further, and just kind of keep breeding into that. And once again, guys, like I said, you know, when you're done with a line, you're done with a line. And it's kind of like, the same thing with movies or anything. You don't want to push it past where it should be. If you
Fast and Furious.
Yes. Well, yeah, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta know when to quit. I like advancing the line. I think it's a fucking fantastic line, and I feel very fortunate that we found a lot of the phenos that we've had, and really seeing it, blow up. Quite frankly, I would say that Dante's Inferno is probably my most well-known strain, um, which is cool to see. But you know, like I said, you can only take it so far, and you got to know when to quit.
I think Dante's Ascent's gonna kill it.
So, and we can always figure out ways to go, from there or anything. But that's just my initial thoughts, guys. I don't like to push it past the point, of just rehashing the same shit. If it goes in a totally different direction, well, that's one thing. If somebody finds something that's that, I have a pretty good idea of where that's stuff like that's going. So, it is what it is. And I guess that's just my general thoughts, guys.
You want to touch up on the hash line? Any updates on the hash line?
Yeah, it's in the works right now.
I know we
So
talked about it
Colorado
a few times
growers,
on the phone.
yeah, he's got stuff going right now. I also have some stuff going as well. So we'll see. We'll see what John does as far as that goes. But we also have a lot of stuff ready to rock and roll if he has other things going on and whatnot. So I guess that's kind of where I'm
We
at
won't
with
get
that.
into specifics. Yeah, we won't get into specifics, but Alex did acquire some fire ass washers.
Yeah, I've definitely been searching them out, guys. So I got a bunch of stuff. Homie Surfer, he got a bunch of stuff, or I got a bunch of stuff from him rather. That's gonna wash well. We got some Bloom Seed Coast stuff. We got a bunch of stuff that are proven washers that we've done some research on, especially like with some of our stuff that I'm going to be doing, and have some good percentages. So I would say 5 to 6.5%, something like that. That's pretty much what we'll be working with as far as that goes. So that was a big thing at one of the last shows we did, was people asking about washers, and I totally get it, especially with the market now. So I think that will be a big focus here towards the latter half of the year, in my opinion, for the company and whatnot.
That Black Velvet washed good too.
It really did. God, I can't remember who the hell came up to me at the damn show, but god damn, that stuff smelled fucking fantastic. It was just ridiculous, seeing some batter of that.
Didn't they bring you that and the Mile High Dave's cut? They washed
Yeah,
them both.
it absolutely just shit on it. I'm not trying to talk shit. Just that was just kind of um my thoughts on it. And from what I saw, the Black Velvet was just, I mean, it blew it out of the water as far as like terps and stuff like that. Now I don't, and from what I heard too, it did wash better as far as like a percentage wise too. So it wasn't just like my personal preference on the terps that were there. And his
So
cuts, his good too. So I'm like I said, guys, I'm not trying to talk shit or anything like that. That was just my personal preference.
yeah, you never really talk shit, even when people deserve it.
No, I try not to. I try to be, fairly neutral on stuff, and he's definitely pumped that fucking lineup like you can't believe. You know what I mean? A lot of people are very, very aware of it because of him. So I'm very appreciative there. That was just, my personal thoughts.
What else should we touch up on that we've been seeing in chat a lot lately? Well, a lot of people are starting to run clones. I get a bunch of questions like,
Hmm.
what's the flower time on this and that? It's like, man, I can't tell you. You got to run it yourself. If you fuck it up, it's gonna take longer. Like,
Well, and that's exactly, dude. It's kind of one of those things where, you know, it's totally going to be environmental dependent and how you run it and things like that. Most stuff is going to finish in, you know, 8 to 10 weeks, unless it's like if you know you're getting a sour diesel cross or something like that, or sour diesel, it's going to go 70 plus days probably. If not, you're going to be in the 8 to 10 weeks, type range. Usually 8 to 9 weeks. There's really not a whole lot of stuff that I make that's past 9 weeks. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of out of the ordinary here, but like I never gave a shit how much time something took, unless it's like some ridiculous taste, you know. Beyond that, if something takes like 4 or 5 more days than something else, I really don't give a shit, especially if I'm getting more yield on it. So I know for some people that does matter. For me, I guess I just really never gave a shit. Even when I wasn't just like commercial cropping stuff, even when I was just in a fucking closet.
oh, Here's one. We've sold a lot of clones recently. I cannot express this enough. You are not guaranteed to get the exact same looking plant as us. You have to run it. You're going to run it different. It's going to be exposed to different environment, all kinds of stuff. I had someone that bought Haichu from me, and he was messaging me during veg. He's like, "Hey, can I see your plant?" So I showed him my mom. He's like, Why does mine not look like yours?" I was like, "Dude, I don't know. Let me see yours." Dude, his was stretching, and you could tell it was under some weak light and this and that. He's like, "Why is yours so bushy?" I'm like, "Dude, you need to pound it with light. You need to feed it hard." Like, we talked about this on the phone. Haichu fucking blows my wallet, dude. It eats so much. It's actually annoying as fuck how much it eats.
I
I'm like,
know.
man, you gotta feed this.
Yeah, man. That see a lot of the stuff, especially now that I've been first of all doing it a while. Now we've had selections down so many lines. You're gonna find stuff like if I'm selecting it, it's gonna be something that's vigorous as fuck. All right, it's gonna eat up light. It's gonna eat up nutrients. And if you feed it right, it's gonna fucking yield like how you want as well. So it's kind of one of those, you know, you gotta give it what the fuck it wants. It can't be under like some fucking fluorescent lights or some shit. Like you gotta crank that shit. That's what it's bred for. That's what we've been putting in work on for, now actually a couple of years.
You gotta clean it too. That thing throws out nodes every fucking where.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
thing wants.
it's a great fucking plant, dude. That thing, um, that and the Big Dipper, the 135 is just absolutely fantastic. And I think the Big Dipper is actually one of the largest yielding ones that I've personally had. So, I guess we'll just kind of see where it takes us. It's just kind of one of those things you got to see. But, if you're going to have, 3 to 4 pound almost fucking plants, it's like, what do you expect that they're not going to fucking eat?
They spent all their money on the clones. Now they can't afford food.
Fair enough.
So that's their excuse.
So I guess that's just kind of
Uh,
my thoughts. You know, yeah. In essence, the more you know. Yeah, sorry, boss. Go
any
ahead.
merch coming up? Any merch coming up? You got any ideas for any kind of merch? People are really excited about merch. They want some gear.
Yeah, it's actually being made right now. I had my guy start doing it 2 or 3 weeks ago. It takes a lot of time to get larger stocks of stuff produced, and not, you have to spend a certain amount of cash to, do a large volume and stuff like that for them. So it's definitely in the works. I guess we'll just kind of see here when I hear from them. I had to do a bunch of seed packs as well. I did another, I think, 10,000 seed packs. So we'll see when it gets in as far as that goes. But the order's in. Did a bunch of sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats. Let's see what else. The bags. There's something else too. I'll keep you guys updated though.
Well, is there anything
we
you're
can definitely
personally about to?
Stickers isn't a problem. Stickers is fucking easy. The other stuff is a lot harder, quite frankly.
Anything we're hunting? They're asking about our next hunts because I know we got haichu and all that we hunted. So what's the next hunts that you have planned?
We finished up the Runt Zero Gravity. I think I'm gonna do some high chew hunts. I kind of want to do like the high chew sour diesel, and I don't know. There's a few that I want to go through. I'm waiting for a couple rooms to kind of open up as far as that goes. Some of the blue raz is really kind of what I want to hunt, so I'm just kind of waiting on those. Yeah, the high chew apple hearts would be badass.
The blueberry muffins might give out something amazing.
Yeah, I think the ones that the mods got, guys, the blueberry muffin high chews, that to me is one that I really want to see, and I feel like that's going to be definitely part of a really solid line.
Oh yeah, every day. What's the update, guys? What's the update?
The blueberry muffin is it's one of the taller ones. The one of them I had, Shinobi, was what was it? It was kind of like a Bubba Kush style plant. I would say probably 12 or 13 years ago, and it was fire. This one to me is a lot more vigorous and still holds a lot of the same characteristics as far as terpenes and stuff like that. So I personally like this one better, but the one I got back in the day was from Incognito, and it was fantastic. But yeah, I mean, it was just like Bubba Kush style. Grew short, stout, didn't really have a ton of vigor to it, or at least took a lot longer to veg. So it wasn't, I guess one that I personally would want to work with, besides really having to do a lot of selections out of it. Yeah, I definitely think it's, honestly, man, I do think it's a lot better. It's vigorous as fuck, and it chunks up. It's just a beast. I thought it was like bullshit, dude, when I got it. And I was like, okay, whatever, just for shits and giggles, let's fucking run this thing. And it was just boss mode, dude. And I wish I would have run almost a whole fucking table of this goddamn thing. I only ran a few of them. And it was fantastic. It kind of blew me away. I mean, it was just really old school, like blueberry fucking muffin, with a better structure, better vigor, better stack, everything to it.
She finished quick, like it's known for.
What's that? Sorry.
She finished pretty quick, huh?
Yeah, it was like 56 days.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, so it was a beast, and that was another thing that was really appealing, is that, a lot of those crosses, I think you're going to be in the, 55 to like 60-day range if you select accordingly, which for a lot of people, I mean, that's another turn per year. You're talking another fucking harvest here. Like that's good goddamn money. And that's a lot of it too. Like you have to think about things like that as far as like the flower time. Like your customers, if they can get another fucking round in over the year, that's good fucking money there.
Yeah, and then Haichu is going to bring a lot of yield.
So I think that that's going to be very appealing to people, especially, you know, like I said, because she yields well too. It's not just like some bullshit fucking, you know, just there's, you know, you can have stuff that, you know, is terpy as shit, but may not put out, or like the bitch time's longer or something as far as that goes. I like to check all the fucking boxes myself. And that's why a lot of the selections, you know, are what they are here. You know, it needs to just not check one or two boxes. It needs to check fucking all the goddamn boxes.
I've been seeing this a lot, Alex. A lot of people are asking about lowering the light hours at the end, doing 11 and 13. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't really know if it gives a shit. I do like, you know, I'll do like a day or two of darkness. I don't know if I've really seen a difference in anything as far as that goes. You got to realize that the plants really aren't even uptaking nutrients, you know, when they're not photosynthesizing. So I don't know how much good that actually does. Do I do it every now and then? Yeah. Do I think it makes a difference? Probably not. But that's just kind of my honest take, guys. You know, a lot of the, you know, if you have some landrace like equatorial strains, sativas and stuff like that, that may more be appropriate as far as, you know, really switching up your root cycle. But for the most part, and for like the home grower and shit like that, I really don't think it matters, guys.
Shit. What time is it? Well, let me get everyone. Fuck it. Let me get everyone
But
in
it's
for
like,
the
you know,
giveaway.
you're talking 2 days here. You know, it's like it's not the end of the world. It's not, I would say, counterproductive, but does it make a big fucking difference? Probably not. You're not going to destroy your plants, the terpenes, the THC content, anything like that in 2 fucking days, you know?
I'm setting up the giveaway right now.
Yeah, let's rock this out. Here, get that going here. I'll be right back.
Let me put this in. Okay, I got the giveaway set up. I just need y'all to go and roll. Everyone in the live chat. I'm gonna put the link right now in the chat so y'all can go to it and sign in for it. There it is. Go to that channel and enter the giveaway. It ends in 10 minutes, so you got to do it quick. And then in 10 minutes, it'll decide a winner. I'm always telling the people in the live chat, so obviously people that attended know to go enter it. See if people are entering.
Yeah, get her going, guys. Shinobi, I used to play around with different light spectrums. We used to actually have, well, nowadays you can do it with fucking LEDs, no problem. We used to have to like switch out the bulbs. I can't remember this brand back in the day that my buddy used. I used them for a while as well, and they used to have all bulbs up to like the UV spectrum and shit like that. I never really thought it honestly made a, you know, bit of difference, but that's just me. I know some people have different results, different rooms. If you have a smaller grow and you can, pay more attention to things like that, that definitely may be the case. But I don't know. For me, I just fucking crank it. Like that's just kind of my philosophy and attitude. Yeah, I don't think 3K versus 4K is really going to show you a lot of difference, quite frankly. But once again, guys, I could be wrong. These are just kind of my personal experiences and anecdotes and stuff.
I've seen a lot of people talking about UV spectrums. I mean, like UVA, UVB, shit
Mhm.
like that. Personally, I don't care for it.
Yeah,
It's not worth the time.
yeah, I guess that's kind of my thoughts too. And once again, guys, I could be wrong. That's just kind of how I run the show. I don't really give a shit about that, or take it too much at heart. There, I guess. I don't know.
Can y'all answer in the chat if y'all are able to enter the giveaway?
What's that?
I'm just making sure they're able to enter the giveaway.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
they're entering. All right, cool, cool. All right, it ends in like 7 minutes. Just giving everyone a heads up to go enter.
Yeah, there we go, guys. How about it? We'll get you hooked up. I'll get you a nice fucking box set.
Oh shit, Alex, we need to touch up on this. Remember that phone call we had? Fucking IPM, powdery mildew. We need to touch up on that shit.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, guys, I mean, I would think it's common knowledge, but like when anybody gets anything from anybody, you need to quarantine it and have a proper IPM schedule and kind of map out how you're going to, well, and it shouldn't only be with something you get in, but your entire garden. You need to have a proper IPM rotation here. And I'm amazed at the amount of people that do not fucking do this.
No.
And, I can't tell you what you should or should not use. You can absolutely do that yourself. For us, I mean, we use all the BioSafe line. We use micronized sulfur, and I've put it up in main chat multiple times. Microthial disperse. You can get like a fucking 30-pound bag. It's like maybe $50. That's what you can use for not only terpene enhancement, but also just like a powder mildew preventative, things like that. One of my favorite contact killers is Dr. Zymes. It's basically citric acid, so I'm sure you can probably find something that works along the same lines there. Um, you can use some pyrethrum too, but you also have to be very, very careful on when you're having that in your rotation if you are using sulfur, because sulfur in any type of oil-based IPM does not mix well. So that's kind of what we use. And I know that's a lot, um, but the BioSafe products are fantastic in my opinion. And really, you can pretty much run your whole line um, around that. And like I've said before, Zach from BioSafe, very good buddy. If you hit him up on IG or anything like that, he will always take your questions and get you squared away. So I guess that's my 2 cents on that. Like I said, if you're getting something in from somebody, it doesn't matter who the fuck it is. It could be a trusted friend, your fucking brother, your buddy, whatever. You still need to go through these practices. Um, it's just proper, I guess. I don't know how else to say it. It's just proper. It's what you do.
Yep. Use clean tools, all the good stuff.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. You need to be bleaching and sanitizing, um, between strains as far as, scissors and stuff like that as well. It really is one of those things you really have to be on top of all the time and not be complacent of. And I
Wash
see
your
it
fucking
fucking frequently.
and give these cuts some humidity. Uh, Jesus Christ, they will bounce back so much quicker if people actually manage their environment that they put their cuts in.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even guys, even like trusted sources that I've gotten shit from for like 15 years, okay, I still have the same practices as somebody that you know some of you guys who trade back and forth or whatever. I don't do a whole lot of trading outside of my circle, but I would still have the same practices, quite frankly.
Put a
Yeah,
bit of
and
effort.
like guys, dude, PM spores are everywhere in the outside, inside, on your clothes, anything like that. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. It just provides, you have to have the right conditions where these spores can actually inoculate and do things like that. So you have to make it an environment where that's not going to happen. Now, I know a lot of people, will spray zero tall. Well, when I was talking with Zach, he said, well, yeah, it'll absolutely kill the PM, but what it does is it'll actually sanitize the leaf surface, which then makes it even easier for the spores that might be in a room or anything of the sort to come back. So that's when you have like a sulfur layer or something like that. No, I'm not talking about like a fucking sulfur burner like how it used to be. You know, you can easily have stuff like, in a lot of states, you can't technically use microthial dispersed, aka micronized sulfur, but you can use some shit called silver bullet from Key to Life, which is literally repackaged microthial dispersed, but it's labeled as a terpene enhancer, so it doesn't have to have any EPA type things on it. So there's things like that. Um, it's just you just got to use this shit regularly. Don't get behind on it. Don't get lazy on it. And yeah, okay. Also with the micronized sulfur, it's also literally like a one and done on russet mites. I've seen so many people like talk about that and have had disasters. And you can totally use that on russet mites as well. And you're going to have, you're, it's amazing how well that shit works. I've seen it on outdoor plants and stuff. Um, when we had a hemp field, every now and then you'd have one or two plants or something. You're like, what the fuck is this? And like one treatment on that stuff, and it usually takes care of it. Granted, I treat it every week after or whatever, but you know as far as russets, that's what you want to use.
It's good to have a rotation as well. Pests they develop a tolerance to things. They can handle stuff.
Right,
They're
that's
back.
why you don't want to get too comfortable just using one thing. Like, okay, well, it works now, but what if you don't kill some of those in your garden? Well, you're going to develop some resistancy to some of these products, which is not good, obviously. So you need to implement some other strategies. And like I said, that's when I call it an IPM rotation. You're talking about like a 10, 12-day rotation here with different products, um, not only to actually treat something, but preventative as well. Now, if it's preventative, yes, you can space it out like a little bit more. You know what I mean? But if you're treating something, you need to know what you're dealing with. You need to know like the reproductive cycle of these pests and things like that. So you need to be knowledgeable on things like this. Like, well, okay, I got this in. This has thrips. Okay, well, I'm going to do this. Or, okay, this is fucked. These have russets or something like that. Whether you want to keep it or not, that's fine. But either way, you've brought it into your fucking garden, and now you're susceptible to your whole garden getting infected by some of this stuff.
I see a lot of people, they don't know their IPMs very well. Like they have preventative types of IPMs, and they develop something, and they just think, oh well, I'll just dose it harder and it'll treat it. No, that's not how it works. Like I think IPM, you're
Right.
not treating
Exactly.
shit with that.
Yeah. No, you're totally spot on, man. That's not how you go about it. Just by increasing a dosage doesn't mean something is going to be more effective. In fact, it's actually probably going to be a lot fucking harder in your actual plants. You
Then they
can.
can't fight.
So it's just kind of one of those things. You really have to do some educating on a lot of that stuff.
Keeping your plants healthy is honestly a very good IPM in itself. Healthy plants fight things better.
Yeah, exactly. If you keep your fucking plants healthy, you're gonna have so much of a lesser chance of them being susceptible to, you know, other type of pathogens and really anything of that nature.
You want to get into
Yeah.
hormones?
Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the deal, early bird. As far as like PM goes, what happens is it basically the mycelium goes into the cell of the plant. So how do you prevent that? Well, a good preventative is having a good amount of calcium and oh god, what was I going to say? Silica. Okay, so what's happening then is you're building up your cell wall. You're making the cell wall a lot more rigid and harder. So the mycelium from the PM spores are not going to be able to actually enter those cells as easily. Now, is that totally, 100% foolproof? Absolutely not. None of that shit is. But it's something that you definitely want to have. So silica and calcium, that's going to make your cell walls a lot harder to penetrate. So that is a very good preventative as far as that goes.
Looks like we got a winner. Stovepipe. Yeah, DM Dank, and he'll get you all situated.
Fuck yeah, man. There you go. Good for you, boss.
First box set. First box set. Congratulations, man. And
Fuck
thanks
yeah, man.
for tuning in as well. All of you,
Yeah,
thanks for
man.
tuning in.
Very cool. All right, let's see what else. I still got some time in me, guys. All right, what do you got? What do you got? Let's let her move it.
Throw some questions. Do you still have the apple fritter cut, Alex?
I don't. I tossed it. I have my apple tarts keeper that I bred, and I got it from, I think it was Jolly Green Thumb. Yeah, he was the one. It was a fucking fantastic cut. So I just felt it was honestly a lot better than the apple fritter. So for me, that's kind of why I kept it. I didn't really see a reason to keep the actual apple fritter cut, honestly.
Dang, talking about what's the stretch on high tune? -10.
It's not bad. I mean, I would say, I mean, it's not a short plant. It's not like a super stretchy plant. It's really just kind of a tweener as far as that goes, but just, stacks really, really fucking hard.
Bushy and stocky to the max.
Yeah, dude. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you see it. Like when she gets into fly, it's just vigorous as shit. Which, as you would expect or hope, I guess, out of a plant that was bred, like a year ago, you know?
People are asking how you use Athena because I guess people are thinking Athena is that's all they need as far as a flower cycle goes.
No, I mean, look, it's going to give you your base. From there, it's kind of your job to take it to where it needs to be. It's going to provide you the basic, macro and micronutrients. If that's all you're after, then great. It'll work okay. Um, I've talked about this in main chat before. Like, is there other stuff that I use? Fuck yeah, there is. Like, like, I know a lot of you guys are making your own salts and shit like that. Look, I don't have the fucking time to do that right now, or the energy, or to teach everybody in the fucking company how exactly to measure out or do this with these chemicals and stuff. So for me, it's kind of a nice little template, if you will. All right. From there, and that's where I think a lot of people get fucked up and they're like, oh, it's cardboard turfs. Well, you're not really fucking, churching it up whatsoever. So for me, you need to do a few more things to it. You need to add like some carbs, add some fucking, some kelp, some cheetah sands, some of these other, you know, natural PGRs like tricantanol, add some fire to it, that's going to have, like some molasses and shit like that or whatever. It doesn't matter. You need to supplement it a little bit and educate yourself on what you're actually supplementing and why you are doing it. So, do I use it as a base? Absolutely, I do. Do I use everything in the line to the exact specifics of the company and specifications? No, I don't. I add a bunch of shit to it, you know. Yucca extract, I would say that is fantastic, and it's actually, in my opinion, almost 10 times better than like an aloe extract. Yucca extract is where it's at, Shinobi.
I guess one good way to put it is not just Athena, but any salt line.
Yeah.
Like you said, is the base. It's the base. It's gonna try and hit all the micros, macros, trace elements the best it can, but it's not going to do it 100%. And when you get a plant into flower, it goes through a lot of life phases where it's going to need certain things more than others, and it's going to change. It's not always going to need more potassium. It's going to need more phosphorus in this phase. It might need more calcium, and
Right.
you have to supplement that additionally to the base. You can't just up the base because that's not all it wants. You have to hit those windows. That's where you get your terps from, hitting those windows.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. And that's going to be a kind of one of those things where one size does not fit all, you know?
Every genetic's different.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to have to kind of roll with the punches there if you've run it or not run it before. Or, this works for this guy. He was happy with this, but, you might have found this lacking in some department. There's going to be a lot of that. Now, we've obviously done enough rounds and stuff where I kind of have a pretty good idea of, how stuff's going to go down. But yeah, I mean, basically at the end of the day, I'm not some fucking Athena fanboy, guys. It's like, I don't get fucking free shit or, get paid to do any of that. It's just more, this is basic macro and micronutrients that for my system with cocoa and Netafim, drip irrigation, it works very well. And I've been really happy with it. And it's easy for my guys to just toss a fucking bag of this shit in there, get it mixed up, concentrate. It's set at these dose-a-ton levels. Let that bitch run, and then we supplement from there. And it's one less thing off my plate if I know that I'm not having to really tweak nutrient ratios and stuff like that.
How much CalMag and reverse osmosis water? It depends on your nutrients and
Yeah, it depends on your nutrient. Depends on how hard your water is and stuff. Usually like 150 to 200 parts Like I run tap, okay? Like real talk. I mean, I got like a fucking $4 or $5,000 RO system at one of the buildings, and we don't even fucking use it because we're basically just like for the water here anyway. When we did water analysis, it was literally the exact same shit that I was basically adding into our water. So it made no sense to essentially filter it out and then put it back in. So it really just kind of depends on your environment and scenario and things like that.
Certain nutrient lines do pair better with certain waters. I hope people know that. You got to learn your water.
You got to learn your water because you're going to have different chemical bonds that are going to happen there, which is going to affect your pH. And I see that a lot in chat when people are saying, their deep water culture, their reservoir, or some shit like that, is spiking up or it's dropping or, something of that nature. That has a lot to do with the starting water that you're going to be using. And you need to be very conscious of that. Let's see. BJ Drizzle. I don't add a whole lot of phosphorus, honestly, to Athena, but I add a shit ton of potassium.
Yeah, he uses quarter rock a lot, just straight potassium.
Yeah, it's basically just straight potassium.
Phosphorus is very tricky to. You got to be careful when you play with phosphorus.
Yeah, and I've learned that over the years, guys, and trust me, I've definitely fucked that up. Okay, and I'm just, I'm not saying that, you guys can't play with it or whatever. I encourage you to fuck around, but usually phosphorus is kind of one of those things. For most nutrient lines, it's pretty in line. And something that I don't really like to fuck with. Maybe early flower. Like I said, maybe I'll do like some fire. I think it's like 0, 12, 16 or some shit like that. So I might do like some of that, but maybe for like a feed or two. Otherwise, I really don't like to fuck around with phosphorus, and I think that that's one thing that can get you into a lot of fucking trouble. I've seen a lot of rounds fucked up by way too much phosphorus. Potassium, on the other hand, is a different story. That's going to give you a lot of your terpene levels. It's going to give you a fuck ton of your bulk. So for me, and like these strains that we've been breeding and stuff, they're going to be very, very potassium intensive. Why? Well, because they fucking yield well. That's what they need. So along with supplementation with your baseline, you're probably going to want some potassium as well. Load that bitch up right out the gate. Fucking first day of flower, slam that shit. Week later, that's when you really start implementing it, you know, I don't know, 2, 3 times a week even. It really depends. We're usually about 2, 3 times a week, something like that. So just something to consider as far as that goes. But like I said, that's going to give you a lot of your bulk and your stack and your yield. And if you don't have that, with us, like if we're doing 3.5 a light, well, that's because we've just been, raging a bunch of fucking potassium. Don't expect that same result if you're not using that. You still might hit 2, 2.25, something like that. And that's totally respectable. And, for what it's worth, in a non-commercial environment per se. But, I guess that's just kind of my strategy.
I've actually had plant. I have made a plant actually, and I know it's what it did. I made a plant herm with phosphorus before.
Yeah,
It fucking herm.
it's something. I mean, dude, I remember a couple times like John and I were like fucking around with stuff and just trying to see, how hard we could like load plants. And whenever we really did like high, loaded up with phosphorus out the gate, it definitely was not like some of the best rounds, you know. So I usually use it very sparingly, like maybe once or twice, like something that's like a 0, 13, 14, or 12, 16, or something like that. But I guess I just kind of have it as an afterthought. And for me, the macronutrients, they're pretty much, well, with Athena anyway, I'm using that as a generalization. Um, Usually are pretty well good to go and pretty solid on their numbers there. Something that I don't really feel like I need to fuck with, I guess, is maybe a better term.
Yeah. I guess one more thing they're asking deficiency wise, and I've told this to a lot of people. Um, Spotting out deficiencies is not as simple as you think. Like if I see a plant that's deficient in potassium, it might not even be my potassium. It might be getting throttled by the calcium. More than likely, the calcium um, deficiencies stack, and all plants show different deficiencies in the leaves um, differently.
Yeah, it's
You
one of
know,
those
some
things.
plants might not show it.
You can't just go on Google and be like, oh, this is what I have. I have a fucking iron deficiency. No, you probably don't. Okay, something's locking out something. The ratios may not be correct. You may not be feeding as high. Your pH um, might be off. There's a lot of different things that can contribute to that. Most of the base nutrients nowadays are pretty good. So a lot of times, start from the top. First thing I'm going to check is my pH balance. Like, am I where I need to be? That's where you need to first fucking start.
pH. Then, if she's hungry, up the base, see how she takes it. And with Cocoa God, you find out so quickly. That's why I can't do soil. I want to know immediately so I can fix it quicker. You know, it's a better window. And then if
Yeah,
she needs
that may
more of
just
it,
be the idea. Yeah, it's like if I can fucking feed the shit out of this thing, and I'm seeing it praying here in like 2 or 3 hours, that gives you a pretty good idea of like what's going on here. You know.
instead of waiting a week for shit to break down and be usable, fuck that. Um, the guy at Lego Landmine is asking, when you're talking about Athena as a base, are you speaking only on core bloom or using also running their other parts? Well, I guess you did run fade. You ran that.
Yeah, we run fade. Other than that, I really don't run like I think they have a calcium supplement. I we might run it. I'm kind of like I really don't give a shit. Give me like some CalMag basically, and honestly, Core has a shit ton of calcium nitrate in it, so I really don't see a whole lot of point to running that. You could have like some magnesium sulfate that every now and then I'll have the guys like put in, you know, some fucking like 30-gallon drum if they're just going to do like a hand feed with like some potassium and kelp and other shit like that. But it's pretty much just core, grow, bloom. Like I said, micro and macronutrients. It's one of those things. Don't fucking think too hard about it. It's what a plant needs. It's what our bodies need. You can get as complicated as you want. Like I get it, but at the end of the day, back in the day, on forums, everybody used to say, the KISS method: keep it simple, stupid. And I think it's one of those things that a lot of people really overcomplicate. And like I said, like when I'm at my house here, I never give a fuck. I just like tablespoon of this, tablespoon of that. There you go, and everything's cranking. And I know a lot of people don't have the confidence to do that, which is fine, but just know that you're most of the time not really going to fuck it up, as far as stuff like that goes, unless you really do overthink it.
I would say the game has changed with LEDs. You know, they strip the calcium more on plants, and then with cocoa. But I will say, your
And
grow
it does
really has,
naturally leach it too. And I
yes,
think that that's one thing, Cajun, that people have to be aware of is that if you're in cocoa, calcium and potassium are going to be leached from the cocoa. So you have to supply the cocoa actually with that first until your plants are able to essentially uptake it in a, I guess, simple way of saying that.
Yeah, the growth starts the second you put the medium inside the pot. It does not start when the seed germs. Your shit needs to be ready. I fucking feed my cocoa like I think 2.5 EC. That's what my seeds get. And those first set of leaves, they got a little bit of burn on them, and then they adapt and they blow the fuck up.
Yep. You know, I think I fed what did I feed the other day? It was like 4.8 or 5.0 EC on some just, vegging plants. And they just fucking went to town. You guys gotta not be, fearful of just like really pushing your fucking plants. The genetics that we have nowadays are so much different than, what I used to grow and grew up on. A lot of this stuff is bred to be, like I was saying, just fucking beasts. So don't be a pussy about it. Fucking feed this shit. Feed your damn plants. See what happens. If your plants look like shit, your pH is on, and you're like, well, the feed chart told me to do this. Fuck that. Throw it out the window and give that plant some goddamn food.
Yeah. Shit, your new growth. If you're feeding your plant good enough, your new growth won't even come in as yellow. That shit comes in as green. I'm not lying.
Totally.
Straight green.
I mean, it's funny. Sometimes I'll even just fuck around with shit, just to almost see like how hard I can push it. And you guys would be amazed at how high you can feed some of these plants nowadays, some of these hybrids that just absolutely fucking crank. And then they're praying and they're like, oh, give me more, give me more. You know. So
They
it's
adapt. And the roots, your roots, if you're feeding hard, those roots are not little tiny bitch shits. They're noodles from seedlings. They're noodles.
fuck yeah. They're cranking out the gate, dude. And I'm not even just saying my stuff. A lot of other breeder stuff's very, very vigorous. So don't be afraid to feed some of this stuff. And I see it in chat too. It's like a lot of times it's just like, oh Jesus Christ, just give this fucking plant some more food. Quit being a little bitch about it. And I mean that nicely, but you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta feed your plants what they're wanting. It's not like these old landrace sativa strains and stuff, especially if you're under like LEDs that are pushing, 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 UMOL, stuff like that. Stuff that's really fucking cranking. Like if you're putting that much fucking light on your plant and it's trying to process it and photosynthesize it, you have to feed that plant correctly.
Yeah. You work harder, you eat more.
Yep.
And
Same
that
deal, dude.
also,
Same deal.
that's
Look at some of those fucking bodybuilders, dude, eating like fucking 3 chickens a day. Some shit. You know what I mean? Like whatever.
yeah. And it also, if you don't feed hard enough, running hot lights, like you're cranking those lights and you're not feeding hard enough, you will notice light burn tendencies. Your plant cannot handle it. It will burn.
And I do see a
That's
lot of people running really high UMOL stuff, which is totally fine. But yeah, like you said, man, to your point, you really have to feed that appropriately. Then, if you want to nut up, really do have to feed it correctly. Otherwise, it's not going to treat you good. You know.
yeah, I think we touched up on a lot of stuff, man. I mean, we answer a lot of stuff in the chat too. It's so much quicker this way for those that tune in to listen. We appreciate it. Sometimes we
Yeah,
answer the same
it definitely
questions.
is. And guys, I do always try to do my best as far as answering questions in chat too. And I also want to remind everybody there is a search button up there too. Okay. So if you guys do have questions on stuff, there is a lot of stuff that, either Cage and myself or any of the other mods or, other folks have added on stuff. So you definitely can, you know, search, and if there's something that is not there that you want to know about, most of the time I'm very willing to talk about it or stuff. I've even talked about like some of my STS stuff the last like week or two for people that have asked, which I usually don't do, but you know. So I'm point being, I'm usually here if somebody has a question or needs confirmation on something.
We're pretty active. I mean, sometimes we're not. You will know after a sale, like this 4th of July sale. I know me and Alex were slammed. We weren't on Discord much. I had DMs. It's just, I'm not ignoring anyone. It's just, I get to it when I get to it. We get slammed sometimes.
And I will say also, like I know I see a lot of like DMs from the Discord, um, and just want to reiterate, really, it's really hard to check these DMs on Discord. I got like 1,000 plus of them, so I don't really usually like to do that. But if you hit me on my Instagram or send an email or something, if it's imperative, send an email. But otherwise, hit me up on Instagram, and I definitely will try to help you out. I look at every single fucking message I get in there.
And if it's a problem with a clone order, just contact me and I'll blow his phone up early in the morning.
Always does.
But,
So it's yeah, and as far as the clones and stuff, I'll actually get an updated list here this week too. I have some more stuff that I'll toss on there, guys, that I think might be interesting. Um, so yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm at, guys.
I think that's good. We'll call it. It was about an hour and a half Q&A. It was a good one.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty solid. Pretty solid, guys.
We'll revise the clone list, like you said. We're working on it. I still have the old one. We just got to tweak it, and then we'll release it.
Yep, just a few more to add to it. It's pretty solid right now, but I got a few things up my sleeve here.
And for those that bought clones, I've got no bad feedback as far as things not rooting or bad on arrival. Just DM me, if there's any issues, and we'll work on it and get it right. And as far as seeds go, just contact the email. Don't talk to me about seeds. I don't handle that. That's all Deb. I only do clones. I don't handle the seed side of stuff. She can take care of it on the email. And she does get busy sometimes, so be patient. She'll get to you when she can, but she does do a very good job at troubleshooting things.
Yeah, yeah. Deb runs the show. She's a boss as far as that goes, and is very very prompt. Yeah, and I just wanted to reiterate, like when you buy clones, if it's hot out, some shit like that, and I do express, but even if it doesn't make it there, you know, um, during the day, and say it's hot as fuck or something like that, I'll definitely get you taken care of. You have my assurance that anything that you purchase, you will lock down, and that's the way that I've always been since I started trading genetics and stuff. If you get something from me, we'll make sure you lock down the genetic lineage. So
Yeah. Alex is not an asshole. I've had people contact me about a clone order a year ago and they somehow lost it, and we replaced it. One of them, we didn't have a mom anymore, so we kind of swapped it out with something. But regardless, we take care of our people. So I think that's a good thing as well. You to get
yeah,
taken care of. It's not.
you have an insurance policy, basically, is the way I like to look at it. If by chance I don't have it anymore, we'll get you replaced with something else. But if not, I mean, we usually have everything pretty well in stock and ready to go out the gate. So, you get what you pay for, and you get a solid cut from a verified source, I guess.
Yeah, no bullshit. Like, oh, you have the cut, I have the money. Don't talk to me anymore. Type shit. That's bullshit. We're not like that. And we help people as well. If you have issues, really, you shouldn't be buying a clone unless you kind of know how to root it and whatnot. But even if I've a lot of my DMs are helping people root their clones, and I successfully helped them, and that comes with it. We're here for the community. We're just not here to make a buck.
Yeah. Okay. Also, KJ, hey, can we add the let's add the most updated list to the announcements section. I think I did see that maybe it wasn't on there the other day or something. And then we can just kind of modify it here in the next day or two when I kind of see what else I want to add to it.
All right, after this Q&A, I'll list it up.
Perfect, man. All right, guys. Sloth, I listed a bunch of STS stuff. By the way, just wanted to touch on that the other day in the main chat a couple days ago. So kind of go through that. It was actually pretty in depth, so you should have a pretty good idea of kind of what's going on there and how I do stuff.
Well, I'm gonna call it.
Yeah.
Have a good
I think it's
weekend.
good, guys. All right, well, let's wrap her up and we'll get stuff taken care of, and I'll get this box set ready to rock and roll for y'all. Okay.
All right. Well, have a good one, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I appreciate everybody's time. Okay.
Good night.
All righty.